It's owned by Americans and very sophisticated Americans, Trump said at the signing. This is going to be American operated all the way. That's a lie. And there's a good chance that American tax dollars are being used by Israel to manipulate Americans to support Israel. I just kind of want to hit home how evil this man is. Okay, so I've been behind on reporting on the news because I've been doing other things. And one of those things is that TikTok is being sold from the Chinese to the Jews. And for some reason, America thinks that the Jews are better than the Chinese. I don't know why. Well, why would America ever think that the Jews are better than the Chinese? But apparently that's what happened. And so far, it's not looking good. Especially since it seems like they're coming after X as well. You know, Twitter, Zitter, whatever you want to fucking call it. But we're gonna put a pin on that later. So, here's the White House openly admitting that the TikTok's algorithm will be retained and retrained and secured under the new system. The updated platform will be financed by Jewish billionaires with strong financial and ideological connections to Israel and its military. The user data will now be stored and filtered through companies that either support or fund IDF units or are partnered with Israeli service and surveillance industries. I personally think this is really important because even though I don't like TikTok and I never use my TikTok, yeah, I have a TikTok. It's just basically dead at this point. I don't know what's happening on it. You cannot deny that TikTok is a major aspect of today's cultural climate, and it has been for years, and it is indoctrinating kids for better or for worse, whether that be on the left, which is what most of it is, especially during 2020 and COVID, making the attention span shorter, etc., etc. TikTok is essential to today's social media climate, and so therefore the actual culture in itself. And so, you know, when you have Jewish billionaires coming in and retraining the algorithm, well, I wonder what that could mean.
And the algorithm, I know this is a question many of you have had, will be secured, retrained, and operated in the United States outside of ByteDance's control. And TikTok will remain globally interoperable, meaning TikTok users in the U.S. will be able to see videos posted by users in other countries and vice versa. While I don't have a number on the specific deal, we do expect that thanks to the president's leadership and the securement of this historic deal, businesses using TikTok will generate as much as $178 billion in economic activity within the U.S. over the next 4 years. So this is great news, not just for the millions of American youth who use TikTok. Their data will be safe and secure with this new deal. They'll continue to use this very fun app. But it's also great news for all of the small business owners who have really been able to make a living off of the use of TikTok as well. And if I could,
I like how they try to make it about the whole small business shit and how much money you can make off of it. I know TikTok does have stores and other shit on it too, but I like how they're focusing mostly on that aspect and, you know, also securing the data and not the fact that it's the Jews that are buying it. Don't get me wrong, I don't trust the Chinese, right? I don't like China. Okay, there's a lot of reasons why I don't like or don't trust TikTok personally myself. I've never been on TikTok. I know. Can I really call myself a Zoomer if I've never really been on TikTok before? But listen, and one of them is because it's like, okay, so clearly it's just Chinese propaganda. Like, it's quite obvious. And though, granted, it's a lot of it's also American propaganda too, within its own self. But, like, I just didn't see the appeal. But if I have to choose between the lesser of two evils, China and Israel having my data, because they're going to still have my data regardless, okay? This whole, like, it's an actual legit concern when China has your data. Yes, I agree. But Israel's no better. In fact, Israel's a lot fucking worse, I would say. Actually, because at least I know China hates me. Israel tries to have this whole little, mask that they like to wear. Like, oh, we love you, America. Now give us $3 more billion this year, or else we're going to murder some more people. Charlie Kirk, I love him so much. Oh, he got shot? Oh, it's such a tragedy, isn't it? You know, like one of those cases. And it's just like, this is just retarded. But of course they're going to focus on the fact that if it's better for the businesses, you know, we can keep it, you know, we're going to have to shut TikTok down unless it gets sold. So this is such a great thing that TikTok's been bought now by these wonderful billionaires. So we can keep the fun app. Isn't it great? Isn't this amazing? And so here's a little bit of some more details of the actual sale in itself, now that it's gone through. Trump approves TikTok deal through executive order. Vance says business valued at $14 billion. President Donald Trump on Thursday signed an executive order approving a proposal that would keep TikTok alive in the U.S. in a transaction that Vice President J.D. Vance said values the business at $14 billion. The deal satisfies the requirements of a national security law requiring China-based ByteDance to sell TikTok's operations or face an effective ban in the country, according to the executive order. Under the terms, which China must still approve, a new joint venture company would oversee TikTok's U.S. business, with ByteDance retaining less than 20% stake. Enterprise tech giant Oracle, Silver Lake, and Abu Dhabi-based MGX Investment Fund will be the main investors in TikTok's U.S. business, controlling a roughly 45% stake in the entity, while ByteDance investors and new holders will own 35%. CNBC's David Faber reported earlier Thursday. Now, it's really important to keep in mind Oracle, because that is, spoiler alerts, that is essential to this story. But Oracle is the main focus here, when it comes to this little, conspiracy theory of ours. No representatives from ByteDance were present at the signing, and the company hasn't acknowledged that a transaction is taking place. No purchase price was mentioned, and there's no indication that the Chinese government has made changes to laws that are necessary for a deal to take place. President Trump says Chinese President Xi Jinping gave the deal the go-ahead. Vance said the Chinese government will put up some resistance before the agreement. Under the planned agreement, Oracle will oversee the app security operations and continue providing cloud computing services for the new TikTok US firm, Faber reported, citing sources familiar with the deal. Trump said Oracle CEO Larry Ellison is involved in the ownership group and that his company is playing a very big part. Once again, Oracle, Larry Ellison, put a pin on this, because this is essential to this. Now, this article is from September 25th. It's obviously been about a week since this article was published. As far as where basically the deal is just going through, the Chinese government is not exactly being open about it, but it's basically just it's happening. My understanding is that it's happening / it's happened. Oracle's already playing a big part of this, as this story is being suppressed from what I can tell, because people have been making a big stink about Oracle and Larry Ellison. The good news about TikTok being sold is not something that the government is willing to talk about anymore, once people kind of figured out what's happening. It's owned by Americans and very sophisticated Americans, Trump said at the signing. This is going to be American operated all the way. That's a lie. ByteDance investors like General Atlantic, Susquehanna, and Sequoia are expected to contribute equity in the new TikTok US entity. ByteDance was reportedly valued at $330 billion last month. Analysts have previously estimated TikTok's U.S. operations could be worth between $30 billion to $35 billion. The deal does not involve federal government taking an equity stake or so-called golden share of TikTok's U.S. operations, CNBC reported Monday. Trump said over the weekend that conservative media baron Rupert Murdoch and his son Lachlan Murdoch could be involved in the TikTok deal, as well as Ellison and Dell Technology CEO Michael Dell. The president last week signed an executive order that extended ByteDance's deadline to divest TikTok's U.S. operations or be subjected to a national security law originally signed by former President Joe Biden. Didn't fully follow the when the TikTok story kind of originated. I remember before Trump ended his first term, he was talking about getting rid of TikTok, and then Biden also kind of talked about it a little bit as well. When Trump and Biden agree to a certain extent, but when there's a slight agreement here, that it makes you a little bit concerned. At least makes me a little bit concerned. The order prevents the Department of Justice from enforcing the national security law until December 16th. That law would penalize App Store operators like Apple and Google and internet service providers for providing services to TikTok's U.S. operations. So this is actually quite a dry article. It just goes over the basics, the numbers, that kind of shit. But this is the story they're running with, because, oh, look at this, this is a company that's, buying TikTok. This is so people can actually still, use TikTok. Isn't this great? So simple. So amazing. Well, remember, Larry Ellison, Oracle. That's the real story here. Larry Ellison, a media mogul like no other. The database billionaire and his son, David, are Trump favorites. The family could soon control an empire that includes CBS, Paramount, Warner, CNN, and a piece of TikTok. That's a lot of entertainment. CBS, Paramount, Warner, CNN, and TikTok? Just throw in Disney, why don't you? And then you basically had the whole conglomerate. Now, I get TV is basically a dead medium. I get, streaming services are also kind of a dead medium too, mostly because of how much, woke shit that they constantly push into it. Doesn't change the fact that these are huge entertainment sectors that are still alive and kicking. They're still media. Now, they're old media at this point, CBS, Paramount, and CNN, but getting a chunk of TikTok, the new media, the new entertainment for young generations like Zoomers and now Gen Alpha, is that what they're called? Yeah, this is not looking good so far when one man has so much power. When Larry Ellison entered his 9th decade in 2024, his high-profile lifestyle seemed to be receding. The future promised fewer thrilling yacht races and mock dog fights over the Pacific, and more legacy-securing philanthropic gestures. Software moguls get old, too. Instead of a remarkable new chapter, even by standards of the truly rich. Mr. Ellison has suddenly decided to become a media magnate, who's one whose portfolio and power could exceed those of fabled predecessors like Hearst and Pulitzer. I like the first paragraphs completely sucking him off. Appreciate it. I feel disgusting now. Oracle, the tech company Mr. Ellison co-founded and still controls after nearly half a century, is among the investors in the newly formulated American version of TikTok, the short video app that claims 170 million US users. Mr. Ellison owns more than 40% of Oracle stock and is chief technology officer. Many elements of the new TikTok remain unclear, including the exact ownership shares and who will run the company. About the only safe assumption is that the app will be controlled by people sympathetic to President Trump. The Murdoch family, the owners of Fox News, probably will be another investor, the president said last week in an interview on Fox. This article is from September 23rd, so it is almost 2 weeks old, a week and a half. Some of the details of the sale are going to be incorrect because things have changed in the past week and a half. However, I'm still pulled it up and reading it because it has more details about Mr. Ellison and Oracle and his wonderful famous yacht rides that he loves dearly. Congress had ordered the Chinese company ByteDance to divest itself of TikTok for national security reasons, and a law whose enforcement was delayed by Mr. Trump. With remarkable appeal to young people, TikTok is quite a prize. Oracle already has a relationship with the app, using its cloud servers to handle US users' data, but this new deal could give it access to consumer-facing side of business. Oracle's biggest venture in consumer business, the network computer in the 1990s, was a flop. TikTok was just one part of the rapidly expanding Ellison family media portfolio. Mr. Ellison's son, David, who recently secured an $8 billion deal for Paramount and CBS and is busy putting his own stamp on them, is widely reported to be preparing a much bigger bid for Warner, which includes CNN. So at the time of the article, apparently Warner wasn't bought completely with CNN. Thank you for the clickbaiting title here. I appreciate being bamboozled like that. At any other time, the regulatory hurdles to owning TikTok, CBS, and CNN, along with a major swath of Hollywood, would have been insurmountable. This is a silently different era, where being in good graces of Mr. Trump counts as a great deal. The president said in January that he would like Elon Musk, then the close advisor, or Mr. Ellison to buy TikTok. I'd rather Musk. I don't really like Musk, but I do think he's done a decent job with Twitter. Like, you cannot deny that without Elon Musk buying Twitter, we would not have the cultural or climate that we do have today. It's sent his buying of Twitter, should go down in fucking history because it changed the culture, the climate, the political landscape like no other. It's like 2016 and fucking Pepe's and Chatelet again. It's absolutely insane. So it'd be nicer if Elon was the one who bought TikTok. But then they had that weird falling out, and then make up sex, and then hate sex, and then they fell out again, and then they're back together because Charlie Kirk. I don't know what's happening between them. Okay, they're gay. But apparently it's going to be Ellison instead. Obviously, the New York Times is making a shot towards Trump with the whole, like, well, it's a slightly different era, where being in the good grace of Mr. Trump counts for a great deal. I don't really like how they're still kind of making the Trump shitting so obvious. But at the same time, I kind of have to agree. What happened to monopoly laws? Why is one man being able to have CBS, CNN, Warner, Paramount, blah, 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 blah? I know his son's the one buying Warner and CNN, but it's still within his company of Oracle. Why is this a thing? I know Google obviously exists, and that's never being broken up. Microsoft exists, and that's not being broken up. But, like, we have monopoly laws, and we just don't use them. And now here we have Trump endorsing a man and his company to basically create another monopoly, like with Google and Microsoft. And maybe it's because I was a kid when a lot of this shit was happening, so I wasn't paying attention. It really just seemed to just kind of happened, right? Where they went in, they bought it up, and that was fine. But in this case, it's Trump actually forcing the hand for TikTok to be sold, and he's actually picking and choosing who he wants to buy it. And in this case, he has chosen Ellison to buy it. So therefore, he has chosen Oracle to be the monopoly here. That is extremely fucking frustrating that president, especially the right-leaning president, the person I've been relatively loyal to all this time, is purposely manipulating things to make Oracle into becoming a monopoly, specifically one that actually influences the younger generation, and it just so happens to be the Jewish media. Once again, I don't like the Chinese. I don't like how much control they had over TikTok as well, but I think I'd rather have the Chinese than the Jews. And the president is involved with this. That's cool. That's great. I love it here. Where's my felt for it to get an award? Powerful families have owned influential chunks of American media in the last century, but their reach is often limited by geography or other factors. I mention other factors because geography doesn't really matter in the year of our Lord 2025. The Chandler family, the owners of the Los Angeles Times, held sway in Southern California for decades, but little power elsewhere. Rupert Murdoch owns Fox and the Wall Street Journal, but their editorial missions did not entirely overlap. Yeah, that's actually completely different art media articles. Fox and the Wall Street Journal. Man, we have propaganda everywhere, don't we? In the digital era, the constraints are dissolving. Everything is consolidating, said Michael Sokolau, a media historian at the University of Maine. What makes these deals different is that they're across multiple platforms. They have the opportunity to establish an editorial line across TikTok, CBS News, and CNN. That's a new world. Yeah, that's a bad world. I don't like that. That's not a good thing. It's not supposed to consolidate. I know it's always kind of existed. The Rockefellers have always existed. I get that. I get that's the case. But one company, one man, I guess it's not completely because there's going to be other stakeholders that are technically involved other than Oracle, but Oracle's the main player here. Having an editorial line across TikTok, CBS News, and CNN, that is not good. Why does a dumb woman on the internet have to be like, yes, so by the way, TikTok, CBS News, and CNN being owned by one company, bad. And they're like, oh, isn't this so cool? Everything's consolidating. These deals are so different. It's a new era. Isn't this exciting? No, it's not exciting. I don't like this. I want this era to end. I don't want mass propaganda being across all sorts of platforms, from extremely left-wing, borderline communist CNN to fucking Fox News to Zoomer brain rot TikTok. Like, that's not good. I know Fox News is not actually in the deal. I'm just throwing that in there because at the rate they're going, it's just a matter of time. Stop! Money, a traditional restraint on media empires, is no obstacle to Mr. Ellison. That's great. On a recent day, he saw the value of his Oracle holdings increase by about 100 billion, making him briefly the richest man in the world. Mr. Ellison now has a net worth of 367 billion. According to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, Mr. Musk is higher. So like I said before, there was a brief moment where he was richer than Elon, but he's like second place. So we have the man for second place, richest man in the world, and not that far behind Elon Musk, being the one buying TikTok with all his other companies he has in the entertainment sector. Yeah, this is cool. Everything's fine. Mr. Ellison, 81, has been a presence in Silicon Valley much longer than any other founder. In 1977, he and two colleagues started software development laboratories, which a few years later was renamed to Oracle after his principal database product. He was less the technical genius than the chief salesman. Oracle had a few near-death experiences, but survived and even prospered, unlike the vast majority of software companies from that era. Along the way, Mr. Ellison was a prototype for the tech entrepreneur who worked hard and played hard. He has been married multiple times and owns large amounts of real estate, including nearly all of Hawaiian island Lani. He also owns an SIAI Marchetti S-211 fighter plane. I don't know what the fuck that is, I'm a woman. Bought from the Italian Navy and reportedly used it for mock dog fights with the sun. Okay, that sounds super fucking fun and I'm jealous. Can I be a Jewish billionaire now too? Frequently, I'll be in a meeting with someone and the person says, "Oh my god, you're nothing what I thought you'd be," Mr. Ellison said in a 2012 interview. Of course, it's a low bar. I didn't just bite the head off a small animal before the meeting. I feel like that's an inside joke that us normies are not supposed to know. But I've heard about the satanic sacrifices that the elites do. Thank you, Blair White and Alex Jones. And so therefore, I'm not laughing. I'm kind of terrified, but okay. Mr. Ellison had never previously shown much interest in the media beyond using many interviews in the 1990s to criticize the Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates, a longtime Betty Noor. His son is in discussion to acquire the Free Press, a new digital publication that presents itself in opposition of traditional news media. Well, it won't be opposition of traditional news media for long then. It's run by Barry West, okay, that's a Jewish name, who likely is to be given some oversight at CBS. Miss West formerly worked as an editor for the opinion section of the New York Times and occasionally wrote essays. Hold on, isn't the article I'm reading from the New York Times? I was like, damn, they're glazing this Mr. Ellison guy a lot. I know a lot of these newspapers are actually part of conglomerates like CBS and CNN, Warner, blah, 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 like we're discussing here. And I don't remember where the New York Times falls within those little shell companies. And it's just like, so is like the New York Times part of the conglomerate, or are they prepping themselves to be ass fucked by the conglomerate? And now I have my answer. They're lubing themselves up. They're puckering their assholes and spreading their cheeks because apparently they're gonna get fucked by Oracle. That's cool. That makes a lot of sense. No wonder they're talking about how cool Ellison is. Mr. Ellison, who didn't return an email for comment, is accumulating money faster than he developed plans to give it away. He's been consumed of late with sprawling for-profit philanthropic entity he is building at the University of Oxford, on which he says he'll be concentrating my resources. But in recent weeks, the research institute, called the Ellison Institute of Technology, wait, I recognize that name, has succumbed to the same upheavals that have befallen Mr. Ellison's prior philanthropic exploits. Hold on, I swear to God I've heard the Ellison Institute of Technology before. Where do I recognize that? Is it just like thrown around randomly and people think it's just going to be like some famous dude? I mean, I guess Ellison is kind of famous, but like I figured it's like, I don't know, reference to something. Oh my fucking god, that explains it. What is the Ellison Institute of Technology known for? The Ellison Institute of Technology is a world-class cancer research and treatment institute with a mission that encourages healthcare professionals to collaborate and interact with a nature-centric environment. That's cool. So chances are, in my talking about COVID, I've just probably heard it in passing as one of those groups that handles some sort of research about one things or another. That's cool. Oh, everything's all connected. I am a dumb plebeian woman. I do not understand why this keeps on happening, but I'm tired of everything connecting. Why can't we just have everything be its own like standalone thing, not all connected together by these Jewish elites that want to destroy the world? Okay, why does it have to be all connected like this? Why do conspiracy theories have to just be conspiracies and not the theories? I'm tired. The billionaire has a long history of changing his mind on charitable work or splitting with the people he hires to oversee it. This month, Mr. Ellison parted with the person he had hired just last year to build EIT, John Bell, a well-known scientist who had given the project instant credibility. Wait, that name also sounds familiar. Wait, it's not John Hopkins, that's completely different. Why does John Bell sound familiar? I'm not gonna Google that. Britain's scientific culture is less commercial than the United States, a situation that the Institute aimed to change by developing numerous startups in the life sciences and other fields. We don't have anybody like him in the UK, Mr. Bell said about his benefactor, and so to have him come here and say, I'm going to build my legacy here in the UK is an amazing step, actually, and he could have gone anywhere. No, that's not amazing. That means he's putting his tendrils to the UK. In mid-August, Mr. Ellison brought on Santa... Oh no. Who named their kid Santa? The former president of the University of Michigan. Wait, isn't the University of Michigan the university that had the Chinese spies bring in a bioweapon for the wheat? Oh no, it's some sort of like foreign Asian name too. Maybe I'm trying to see connections where they're not, but at the same time, I don't like how I'm seeing those connections in the first place. Usually I'm too dumb and ignorant to do so. With a title that seemed to outrank Mr. Bell. Mr. Ellison said Mr. Bell would collaborate with Mr. Ono, but 2 weeks later, Mr. Bell prominently announced his departure, calling the Institute a very challenging project. Okay, that's kind of funny, because they clearly had a big argument. I can just imagine the shouting matches. Mr. Ellison has been very hands-on at the Institute, according to a person close to the entity, and have been regularly communicating with Mr. Bell, and showing up for meetings at the Institute's Oxford offices. There has been tension within the Institute's leadership about how to best commercialize Mr. Ellison's scientific research, along with persistent questions about how much the Institute could trust Mr. Ellison to deliver on his financial commitments. Well, I mean, he's the one who actually made it, so I would hope that he would actually deliver his financial commitment, especially with being the second richest man in the whole fucking world, but okay. So we got Mr. Larry Ellison here, a person who has this Oracle company that owns CBS Paramount, and then his son within the company is planning on buying Warner and CNN. He's getting a decent chunk of TikTok, and he's got the Ellison Institute as well, that apparently has connections to the University of Michigan, which is pretty sure that's the one with had the Chinese spies with the bioweapons. This sounds like a completely safe man. I'm gonna trust him with the Zoomer propaganda. After all, he met with Tony Blair at the World Government Summit at 2020 earlier this year, and described how all data, health, finance, and genomic needs to be centralized before AI can be deployed and force control. I trust this man with my life.
Because we're constantly watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on. The first thing a country needs to do is to unify all of their data so it can be consumed and used by the AI model. You have to take all of your healthcare data, your diagnostic data, your electronic health records, your genomic data. The NHS in the UK has an incredible amount of
Genomic. That's how you're supposed to pronounce that word? Genomic. Okay, I'm not gonna remember that.
Population data, but it's fragmented. It's not easily accessible by these AI models. We have to take all of this data we have in our country and move it into a single, if you will, unified data platform so we provide context when we want to ask a question.
So chat, I have a terrible memory, but I do remember that Trump was talking about having a system for healthcare providers and other things that would be basically one encompassing database across the board. I don't remember all the exact details because I have a memory of a goldfish, but I do remember him talking about that. I also remember in my Palantir research that was basically the whole point of Palantir is one big database for the government that has all details on it to make things better and less fractured between the different agencies of the government. And here we have Tony Blair sitting there listening to Larry Ellison. Tony Blair, for those who don't know, is a huge globalist, and he was the Prime Minister of Britain back in the 90s. and he is the one who brought in the mass immigration wave and was pushing for multiculturalism the strongest. Technically, it's happening before he came into power, but he was the biggest one with his labor government here. He apparently has since recanted that, but he is also a big push for digital ID. Essentially, what he has done a lot is recant what he used to promote because he realizes that the public doesn't actually like it. But he is the one who first started to get the ball rolling on this, and now the Conservative Party and Labour and the Overlord 2025 are the ones pushing for this stuff. He is at least the main figurehead on why the UK is so fucking shit, because he is a globalist. So, we have Larry Ellison, a Jew, second richest man in the world, with the company Oracle, with a lot of stakes within entertainment, talking about how we need a database to connect everything together for the AI to work properly with Tony Blair, something that Trump was already instigating with Palantir and the healthcare model. But it's just a conspiracy theory, by the way. It's just a game theory at the end of the day that, the tiny hats are in control. What do I know? I'm a retarded woman.
We've provided that AI model with all the data they need to understand our country. So that's the big step. That's kind of the missing link. We need to unify all of the national data, put it into a database where it's easily consumable by the AI model, and then ask whatever question you like.
Why do I want the AI to be able to answer any question I would like when it comes to health, finance, and genomic things? Why do I want all my data and other people's data and a centralized system for the government to have access to? I'm not being sold why I want this to happen. If anything, I'm pretty hardcore against it. So there's a little bit about Mr. Larry Ellison, the Oracle guy, who is, buying TikTok. But now, I just kind of want to hit home how evil this man is, but this is a very deep rabbit hole we can get into. Larry Ellison vetted Marko Rubio for fealty to Israel, hacked emails reveal. The billionaire Oracle founder is on track to take control of American media. This was posted yesterday here. These are leaked emails. With anything that's leaked, obviously take it with a grain of salt. Did ask Winters if he thinks it's real or not, based because he's a grandpa, and these emails are from 2015, so I wanted to double check the UI and different things like that. He said it's 50-50 because it is definitely strange, but it's hard to tell. I'm going to read the article anyway because we do speculate a little bit here. We do like the tinfoil, after all. It tastes really delicious. I love my tinfoil. It's crunchy and munchy and tastes like aluminum. And I want that autism. I want to increase my autism levels with my Tylenol and my vaccines. Delicious. Everything is coming together for Larry Ellison, the billionaire co-founder of tech giant Oracle, on and off again the richest man in the world, and a staunch supporter of Israel, is set to take lead role in reshaping TikTok in the United States. His son, David Ellison, is moving to take over large swaths of the media, including CBS News, CNN, Warner Brothers, and Paramount, reportedly bringing in the Free Press's Barry West to shape editorial direction. The Ellison family is cornering the market of attention and data the same way Vanderbilt's did railroads and Rockefellers did oil. That's not a good thing to be compared to the Rockefellers. I don't know much about the Vanderbilts, but I'm going to assume it's the same shit. But that's not a good thing to be compared to. As Wade recently characterized it, how they plan to operate that monopoly is on course to be tested out in what President Donald Trump is calling New Gaza, a techno-dystopian free trade zone that's administered by a board of peace led by Trump and Ellison's longtime political and business vehicle, Tony Blair. Ellison has given or pledged more than $350 million to the Tony Blair Institute, which Blair has used to advance Ellison's vision of marriage between government, corporate power, and tech surveillance. Oracle, by providing database infrastructure and cloud computing services to other huge enterprises like FedEx and Nvidia, has quietly become one of the most powerful companies in the world. As the nation's top diplomat, Secretary of State Marko Rubio has also played a role in the TikTok talks that steered the company towards Ellison after playing a lead role as senator and demonizing the app. Like this. Warner Rubio called for investigation into TikTok in light of revelations about Chinese Communist Party potential access to US data back in 2022. Interesting. He was also closely involved in the rollout of Trump's plan for Gaza's future, which hands the enclave to Blair. Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner asked the Blair Institute in spring was coming up with post-war plan for Gaza, which repeatedly completed, Times of Israel reported. That Rubio finds himself in such a central position is in part thanks to Ellison, who has been a major patron of the Cuban-American former senator from Florida. Ellison first vetted Rubio for his fealty towards Israel back in early 2015, according to previously unreported email correspondence reviewed by DropSite. Rubio rose to prominence as a Tea Party-backed conservative Senate upstart in 2010, launching a presidential campaign in 2016 cycle. As Secretary of State, Rubio launched an unprecedented crackdown on speech, detaining and attempting to deport critics of Israel precisely for the crime of their criticism of Israel. That's a little bit hyperbolic there. Technically, it's the Free Palestine people, a lot of leftists. It's their cover for going after the left for Free Palestine, because a lot of them are leftist domestic terrorists who are anti-Israel because they support Palestine, and a lot of them are foreigners. It's a double-edged sword. I like the fact he's going after leftists, because I don't want these free Palestine freaks doing the shitty leftist tactics that they always do. However, they are using anti-Semitism as the main weapon for this, which will obviously be backhanded towards the right once the target switches. So, not great. It's good, but not great. In early 2015, Ellison was emailing Ron Prosser, who was serving in the tail end of his time as Israeli ambassador to the United Nations. He currently serves as the Israeli ambassador to Germany. He is also, by the way, a complete Jew. Literally born in Israel, graduated the IDF Battalion Command. As an officer's artillery division of the IDF, Prosser attained the rank of major. He has a bachelor's degree and master's degree in political science from the Hebrew University of Journalism. And so he's been an ambassador for Israel from the United Nations to the United Kingdom and now for Germany as well for a very long time. Needless to say, he's actually quite involved within the Israeli state. And this is who Larry Ellison was talking to about Rubio, who you know is the Secretary of State of Trump's administration. And Trump really likes Larry Ellison and wants TikTok to be sold to Larry Ellison. They also have connections with Tony Blair, who was a major globalist and was the main push for mass immigration in Britain and wants digital ID, even before Starmer was doing it. I'm pressing X to doubt. I hate to break it to ya, but I'm having a real hard time trusting this plan. At the time, Rubio was seen as a strong challenger in the GOP presidential field that would ultimately include underdog candidate Donald Trump. The email showed Israel diplomat and Ellison arranging a meeting with one another, with Prosser soliciting Ellison's views on Rubio as a potential candidate who could advocate on behalf of Israel. Now, these are from 2015. That's why the UI looks a little bit old. Prosser talks in a very strange way, and how he talks makes me kind of think it's fake. But he's the only one who talks like this. He talks like he's Indian. I don't know. But the whole conversation is also really casual, too. You'll understand as we read through it. From Ron Prosser to Larry Ellison. Back in 2015. Subject, Rubio's speech. Larry, hi. Please send me his speech. Thanks, Ron. Sent from my iPhone. On April 26, 2015, Prosser sent Ellison an email titled Rubio's speech, asking the Oracle founder and CTO to send him a copy of the speech from the then candidate. The emails don't specify which speech, but Rubio had kicked off his campaign a week earlier with a speech that criticized the Obama administration's hostility to Israel. The next day, the two traded messages indicating that Prosser and Ellison had dinner together, and that Ellison would soon be meeting Rubio directly. Well, let's just read the email. From Ron Prosser to Larry Ellison. 2015. Subject, dinner. Larry, hi. I really enjoy spending the afternoon and evening with you. Time flies with you. Thank you. Big HUD wrong. Sent from my iPhone. This is so fucking gay. Larry, hi. I really enjoyed spending the afternoon and evening with you. Time flies with you. Thank you. Oh, big hug. Ron. XOXOXO. See, the wording on this is what makes me kind of think that this could be fake. Plus, the screenshots do look different. I'm not sure why they're like this. So once again, take this with a grain of salt, because there are some things that are not adding up with this. These are also, 10 years ago as well. And it does kind of make sense with the timeline. So take it with a grain of salt. But on April 30th, Prosser sent another message to Ellison to follow up, sharing his phone number and thanking him again for the evening they spent together. How was the conversation with Marko Rubio? Did he pass your scrutiny? Did he have a chance to talk about Israel? Would love to chat. So, from Larry Ellison to Ron Prosser in 2015, responding to dinner. I had a great time too, Ron. I'm looking forward to the next time. Larry. P.S. I'll tell you how dinner goes with Senator Rubio. Sent from my iPad. So at least the speech patterns between Prosser and Larry are different, with Prosser being very gay and Larry putting an arm's length between them. And then a few hours later, Larry, hi. How was your conversation with Marko Rubio? Did he pass your scrutiny? Did you have a chance to talk about Israel? Would love to chat. My cell is 347 blanked out. Big hug. And again, thank you for the wonderful evening with you. Ron. Sent from my iPhone. From Larry Ellison to Ron Prosser, 2015. Hi, Ron. Great meeting with Marko Rubio. I set him up to meet with Tony Blair. Marko would be a great friend for Israel. Larry. Sent from my iPad. So now we got more connections to Tony Blair. Wow! Isn't this funny? Once again, these emails could be fake. Take them with a grain of salt. Seems like the ones from Larry have this yellow and orange line looking like it came out from 2005 instead of 2015. But then, no, the Ron Prosser ones too. Versus there's also this one that doesn't have the effect. So I don't know what's going on, why one of them doesn't have this yellow and orange-ish line, and this one doesn't. These could be fake, but it is interesting. A month later, Ellison, who had backed Mitt Romney in 2012, hosted a fundraiser for Rubio in his mansion in Woodside, California. That would be only the beginning of a broader range of support that the tech billionaire would offer in attempting to bolster Rubio's campaign. Over the course of the 2015-2016 primary, Ellison plowed $5 million into Conservative Solutions Super PAC, which supported Rubio, who, as Ellison privately hoped, advocated vocally for Israel through the course of his presidential bid and beyond. I don't think Ellison privately hoped. I think it was pretty obvious, not just because of the leaked emails, but that's just how they work, you know? Ellison's support for Rubio perplexed some political observers at the time. The CEO of the political crowdfunding platform CrowdPack, now known as CrowdBlue, Stephen Hilton, told San Francisco Chronicle that he found it interesting that Ellison, who was not then well known as a supporter of right-wing causes, should support a candidate as conservative as Marko Rubio, striking that it could reflect Rubio's past effort to implement immigration reform, a crucial issue for Silicon Valley leaders like Ellison. What do you mean immigration reform? Because if I remember correctly, and once again, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, Marko Rubio was a little bit more left-leaning when it came to immigration reform back in the day. Requests to comment about the exchange to Ellison, the U.S. State Department, and Israeli embassy in Germany, where Prosser is currently stationed, were not returned. I wonder why. The correspondence between an Israeli diplomat and Ellison is part of an archive of emails released by Handala, a hacking group suspected of having connections to the Iranian Ministry of Intelligence. The documents were then obtained by Distributed Denial of Secrets, a non-profit whistleblower and file-sharing website, where they are presently available to a select pool of verified researchers and journalists. While the emails were posted without metadata that would allow their authenticity to be verified, they contained hundreds of photographs, documents, and other information from Prosser and his contacts, including non-public information verified as accurate by DropSite. I have never heard of DropSite before this article, so I can't exactly take their verification as true, but I do like that they do admit, granted it's deeper in the article, but they do admit that it is hard to verify the authenticity for this, just because it is coming from the Iranian ministry, and it's, being passed around in more underground circles. But then again, when it comes to leak like this, especially when it comes with the Jews, and that the mainstream media doesn't like talking about the Jews, it makes sense that we're going to get this information, even if it is true, from alternative sources, like this DropSite place. The archive ends in 2016, suggesting that the data had been exfiltrated prior to being posted by Handala on October 2024. An announcement by the Handala hack team that it gained access to Prosser's emails was made around the same time and announced a trove of emails from former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. DropSite published a story on September 28th about Jeffrey Epstein brokering an Israeli security agreement with Barak. Not Barack Obama, by the way, but, still interesting. The timestamps in those emails indicate Handala was located in the same time zone as Tehran. When Handala posted the Prosser emails, they also threatened Prosser saying, "Your death is near." Well, I don't think Prosser's going to die anytime soon, unless Israel tries to whack him, but there's kind of no point in whacking him if the leaks already happened. So, Netanyahu has come out about a briefing American influencers, stating that TikTok is the most important weapon in securing Israel's right-wing support. Figured we can actually listen from the horse directly himself. The whole letter from Charlie Kirk was talking about, hey, don't use some contractors in America. That's bad. Use it directly from Israel instead. And apparently he's not taking Charlie Kirk's advice. Not sure that's good or not.
Influencers? Okay. You said, we talked about the woke right. And you said, I call it the woke Reich. That's a brilliant observation. The woke right, because these people, they're not any different from the woke left. I mean, they're insane. They're loonies. But they're actually meeting on some of the things.
I like how he uses woke right. That whole phrase that James Lindsay has been trying to push for a fucking year. And then Jordan Peterson was also doing it too. Two major people that are well known to be funded by Israel. And then we have, the Prime Minister, of Israel himself talking about the woke right. How can he be more blatantly obvious about this?
And what we have to do is we have to secure that part of the base of our support in the United States. That is being challenged systematically. A lot of this is done with money. Money of NGOs, vast. Money of governments, vaster. Okay? We have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community. They're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. The weapons change over time. You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well. Okay? And you can't fight with cavalry. That doesn't work very well. And you have these new things, like drones, things like that. I won't get into that. But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are on social media. And the most important purchase that is going on right now is followers. TikTok. TikTok. Number one. And I hope.
So here he is, straight up admitting that they need their own influencers, aka their own propaganda machine, And that TikTok is the biggest thing that they need to worry about because it's being bought up by Larry Ellison, the guy who we read some articles about earlier in the stream. The owner of Oracle, who has one of the biggest shares within this new deal, who's also Jewish.
It goes through because it can be consequential. And the other one, what's the other one that's most important?
X.
X.
Oh,
Exactly. Very good. And, so we have to talk to Elon. He's not an enemy. He's a friend. We should talk to him. Now, if we can get those two things, we get a lot. And I could go on other things, but that's not the point right now.
And then he just straight up admits as well that we need to talk to Elon, because right now, Twitter is the main source of anti-Semitism. It really is. I know anti-Semitism was decently large on TikTok because of the left, but that was from the Free Palestine perspective. From the right, it's on Twitter, because they post videos of Netanyahu himself just straight up admitting about the propaganda and the APAC tracker and all the other things that Israel does that's clearly influencing American politics, like the 250 state representatives that were at that 50 states, one Israel meeting a couple weeks ago. Different things like that goes viral on Twitter because people are noticing what's happening. And now he wants to talk to Elon on top of it, just so that to have control over their influencers. It's cool, fine and dandy, totally normal.
We have to fight the fight, okay? To give direction to the Jewish people and give direction to our non-Jewish friends or those who could be our Jewish our friends. Are we going to succeed with everyone? No. Will there be a strong counterpart? Yes.
Absolutely fucking lovely. And now this video was leaked on September 26th. So this was, a week ago, roughly? Oh my god, literally a week ago, okay. Literally a week ago this video came out of Netanyahu. And buying Twitter. Israel's paying influencers $7,000 per post. Netanyahu referred this leak to a community pushing out preferred messaging in US media, and boy, they were making a pricely sum. So, like we already watched a little bit earlier, Netanyahu talking about the TikTok selling, need to make Elon Musk make it a friend, would they need their own influencers, Charlie Kirk's letter about how to better push propaganda, which is technically the opposite of what Netanyahu's doing, but still. Larry Ellison buying TikTok, after all, and now, once again, Israel paying influencers $7,000 for their influencers, which is real, by the way. I would like, it's a short, you know what, it's 5:15. Okay, I'll go through this article real quick. In a meeting dedicated to the harnessing pro-Israel media energy on Friday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu alluded to a cohort of Israel's influencers. We had to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance, to that community. Yes, they are very important. Being paid by Israel to post on social media is also very lucrative. According to previously unreported recent documents, these influencers are being paid around $7,000 per post on social media, such as TikTok and Instagram, on behalf of Israel. Once again, TikTok here. I'm back to Larry Ellison. Then we have ties with Marko Rubio and Tony Blair within the Trump administration. This all comes together. I know I'm kind of hopping around a little bit, and I feel bad about it, but it really all just kind of comes together like this. It's one big, massive, messy fucking cobweb of corruption and Jewry. Bridges Partners, a firm working in the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs, sent a series of invoices for its influencer campaign to the Voz Media Group, Germany, an international media group working for Israel. The invoices detailed a sum of $900,000 starting in June and slated into the end of November for a cohort of 14 to 18 influencers to create content. The document, which is filed under Foreign Agents Registration Act, notes that the funding is for both payments for influencers for production, but does not provide a breakdown between the two. When taking into account the administrative protective costs through September 16th, legal fees, banking fees, marketing fees, and other project services noted in a separate document, that leaves an estimated sum of $552,946 for the influencers between June and September of this year. The firm estimated that the cohort was expected to produce 75 to 90 posts in that time. Doing the math, that would be about $6,143 per post on the low end. On the high end, each influencer will be making as much as $7,372 per post. Hey, Israel! Hey, Israel! I'll stop this stream and I'll start sucking your dick if I made $700 a post. I'll finally start tweeting randomly. I'll suck your dick off for $7,000 a post. Hell fuck. Mossad doesn't pay enough. I went up directly from the Israeli government. I know they're the same thing. That's the joke, but still. But damn, $7,000 a post? A girl can fucking dream making that much money. $7,000 a post? All I have to do is talk about how amazing Israel is? Really? $7,000? Fucking hell. It's not clear which influencers are participating in the program. Avast, the firm overseeing Bridges Partners' work, did not respond to multiple requests for a comment about the project, which influencers are participating in the program, or how much each is paid. Well, I wonder why they wouldn't talk about this again. The firm, which lists its business address to the Capitol Hill neighborhood of Washington, D.C., has also enlisted the help of former major and the IDF spokesperson unit, Nadiv Strochler, for legal counsel. Levi and Steinberg have turned to Pillsbury Winthrop Shaw Pittman, a firm previously worked for controversial Israeli spyware company NSO Group. The Bridges Partners campaign is titled Esther Project, a name which bears resemblance to the Heritage Foundation's Project Esther, a campaign to fight anti-Semitism by branding critics of Israel as part of a terrorist support network. A Heritage spokesperson informed Responsible Statecraft that there is no connection between the Heritage Foundation Project Esther announcement in October 2024 and Bridge Partners Esther Project. I highly doubt that. Does Esther mean something special in Hebrew, or whatever the case is? Because I have a... If not, I imagine there's a decent map connection there. So yeah, I get paid $7,000 per post. And then this uncensored AI is one of the, like I said, who was losing their blue check marks, by the way. But they did have a good point before they lost their check mark, their golden check mark. If Israel is giving American influencers $7K a post, and America gives Israel a minimum of $3 billion a year, then there's a good chance that American tax dollars are being used by Israel to manipulate Americans to support Israel. This is why I said earlier, and with the Charlie Kirk letter, that if they actually had real Jews in Israel being the influencers and trying to do a day in the life of an Israeli and show them that they're true, real people, this would make more people anti-Semitic in the long run, because they would see how much better Israel has because we're the one actually fucking paying them for their lifestyle, as we get a minimum of $3 billion a year for their fucking bullshit. It's a circle. It's a full circle.